In the third part of this three-part series on better photography for better communication in agriculture, I want to talk about post-processing applications. And in this lecture, we're going to focus on the app Snapseed, which is a free app. And then here's the icon here in the yellow circle. But there are others, and I have used Photoshop Express, and it's a good program. I have the paid version of Lightroom, and you can get it so that it can be a smartphone app, but I have not used it, mainly because Snapseed has done everything I needed to do, and I think you'll agree. First of all, the tools in Snapseed rival Photoshop, and they're much more intuitive to get to and to use. I'm going to highlight just a few of these that will show you examples of or that you will most commonly use. So we're going to talk about the Tune Image tool. I may not show you, don't think I'll show you the cropping tool, but certainly that lets you then adjust, cut out parts of the image or focus or crop the image so that you've kept only the interesting material. A very interesting feature is called the healing feature, and we'll show you that, an example of that. HDRscape, which will help even, it can take the natural HDR images that your phone might make and even do some further, add some further interest to the photograph. And I think this is the last one we will talk about, lens blur, which is actually mimics a feature that is only capable in the most expensive of lenses and camera arrangements. So I want to call your attention to three things at the bottom of the screen: the looks, the tools, and then the export. When you open Snapseed, you're only going to see looks and tools, but when you have worked with the image some and you want to save it, you then will have the choice to export it, and that lets you send it on your phone or even email it to you but one of many choices. So this is the overview of what we're going to talk about going forward. So I'm going to walk you through how that might look on your phone. And I'd encourage you, if you have not done so, to download Snapseed, pause this lecture right here, and then restart the lecture, and then use some of the tools with the prompts I'm going to give you in the next few images. So this is a scene you've seen before in this lecture. It's a favorite photograph of mine, and so I just opened it up. It's on my smartphone. Opened it up, and in the phone I had at the time, this little image was a way to share it or to open this with something else. On the smartphone I have now, that icon is up here in the upper part of the screen. But I tapped that, and then I had several choices. I can send it to Facebook. I can add it to Dropbox, upload it to Photos, make it my profile picture. But I want to open it with Snapseed, and that open Snapseed, you may have to scroll down quite a ways among the choices. Once you have opened it in Snapseed, you're going to get a screen that looks a little bit like the left. And if you tap Looks, this brings up this choice of filters on the bottom of the screen, which is very analogous to, I believe it's Instagram's filters, that it's a bunch of preset looks that lets you vary the look of your photograph and may be quite fun to use. But I'm going to focus on this selection to the right, or Tools, because that's where the real power comes from in Snapseed. And this first example I'm going to use is going to be selecting, when you tap Tools, you'll see this screen on the right, and then tap Tune Image, which is one of the first places you're going to want to start with editing a photograph. So this is your, again, your screen you'll see when you'll open up, when you tap Tools, and then tap Tune Image. then you're going to have an image that looks like this, actually without this menu in front of the picture. You'll have your picture with these icons at the bottom. Tap this icon, which looks like sliders, and this will appear. And then slide your finger up and down to select the part of that image you want to adjust. And then once you have selected it, remove your finger or lift it up and then move it left and right. In this case, brightness is selected. If you move it right, it will make it brighter. If you move it left, it'll make it darker. And you can repeat that to bring up another tool. Then let up on your finger, place it on the image again. It'll bring up this list, move it up or down until you get the feature you would like to adjust, contrast or saturation, ambiance, highlights, or shadows. And in many cases, you may want to do brightness, but I oftentimes start with shadows because shadows tend to be you lose detail in shadows, and bringing and lightening them for most images creates a more pleasing photograph in my mind. And a lot of times you'll often want to decrease the brightness of the highlights so that it is a little more pleasing. And that's personal preference. So to get the Tune Image menu to pop up, just put your finger on the screen, slide it up or down to your choice, lift your finger, then move it left to right to adjust more or less of that different edit. So let's look at a really interesting one, something you're going to have fun with, and it's called healing. This is a Snapseed healed image. The one on the left is the original, sent to me by my cousin in Oklahoma. A beautiful sunset, and I love windmills, but I hate the power pole and the telephone wire in the middle of the power line, whatever it is. Now, when you selected that Snapseed healing tool, you can have your image like on the left, just brush your finger straight down the telephone pole and then straight across the wire, and you will get the image on the right. Much more pleasing. Not perfect, but considering how hard it would do and how hard it would be to do this or repeat this effect in Photoshop, it is really amazing. So try that. I think you'll find it quite a lot of fun. So to heal the image, swipe your finger over the part of the image to fix, and in this case, I fixed the telephone pole and the wire. Take a look at Snapseed HDR, and it's called HDRscape on the Snapseed menu. This is that picture of Paloma Falcone that you saw earlier, which is a beautiful picture, or even as you saw it. But when you choose the plus HDRscape, in this case we used a filter strength of plus 50, so we moved it halfway over to the right. Then you picked up details in the gloves that you didn't see before, more in her hair, saturated the colors just a little bit. Whether or not that's the way you prefer it, or whether you prefer the original image, is not important right here. What is important is that you understand what this tool does with your photograph. Because if you wanted to capture details in her hands, for example, or more detail in her hair, then using HDRscape will be helpful. And there are some choices at the bottom. You can use fine control or strong. You can have nature selected or people. A lot of times it tries to figure out whether it is people or whether it is nature that you want to work with. And these are subtle changes, and you can just experiment and see which one you like. Another feature that I think you'll find interesting is lens blur. This photograph on the left is a cute picture of my grandson in his car seat as he was, of course, about to leave. But yet I wanted to, your eye certainly gets attracted to the eyes and the face, but you've got this distracting information over here to the left. You got the car seat, you got the buckle and things like that. So on expensive cameras, you would choose a lens combination and some other settings that would make it so that only his face is in focus and it would be not in focus in the rest of the photograph. On a smartphone, the way the physics of the lens works, a whole lot of stuff is in focus, and that's good because most of the time we want most of the image to be in focus, the stuff close to us and the stuff far away. But if we choose that lens blur effect, let's take a look at what that's going to do. So this is the screen you'll get with the lens blur. It'll have a blue dot, and of course take your finger and move that dot around until it is over the center of the image that you want to remain in focus. And then you can take your finger and distort these circles around that image to adjust the area of the photograph, or to adjust the area of adjustment of the blur. So outside of this circle is going to be very blurred, and then you're going to have a gradient from this circle to the outer circle of blur strength. And you can adjust how strong that blur is here with the slider left or right at the top. And the result is on the right. And I think it's a much better photograph. You're not distracted by anything. You're really attracted and drawn in straight to his eyes. So I hope you have enjoyed this quick lesson on a lot of things in photography. I hope you can appreciate now how good your smartphone camera is, how to make more compelling statements about the things you want to communicate through photography, and a few final thoughts. Look for pictures and be ready. One of the beauties of a smartphone is that you're almost always ready, and you always have your camera with you. Clean off the lens. We really forget that our smartphone has a camera in it, and that lens front needs to be kept clean for best photographs. Another thing that is difficult to do by the way that we take pictures of smartphones is holding the camera still, especially when the light is dim. Prop your elbows on something because it's very difficult to hold anything out at arm's length or half arm's length and hold it still. Get close and fill up the frame, and then keep communicating about agriculture in the world around us. Thank you very much.